Welcome back to City Minutes. Are you prepared for a major emergency or disaster? What's your plan? How many days could you and your family eat if you were on your own? Are you the happy-go-lucky type who always waits till tomorrow to do something and thinks disasters can only happen to other people? Well, winter or summer, people should be ready just in case. And here to tell us more is the disaster lady herself, Cheryl Bledsoe, manager of the Emergency Management Division of the Clark Regional Emergency Services Agency, CRESA, or the 911 people, and also a Farmer Marshall Leadership Award recipient. Welcome.
Thank you.
September is Emergency Preparedness Month, but really people need to be prepared year-round, right? And this is a national month. It's not just a Clark County observance, correct? Why September and why the focus? Why have a month for emergency preparedness?
Well, certainly I would say every month should be Emergency Preparedness Month, but the President of the United States has signed a presidential proclamation which designates September as National Preparedness Month. Now in the state of Washington, we also have April, which is Earthquake and Tsunami Preparedness Month, so we do every 6 months sort of talk about emergency preparedness on a larger scale, just to bring it back into people's minds as they're getting ready for school and getting ready for the disaster season.
One of the things that you're doing as part of the effort to sort of get people off the stick is a fun one. It's 30 Days, 30 Ways campaign on the CRESA blog. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Every year when we promote national preparedness, we often send out a press release that tells people to become prepared. Unfortunately, people hear the messages a lot and they often disregard them. So I wanted to do something really different this year, and instead of just sending out the typical press release, which we did, we also decided to do an interactive game and really kind of question whether or not people would engage with emergency preparedness, and the results have been phenomenal. In the first 15 days, we're halfway through the project, we have people participating in over 20 different states and in 5 different countries.
Oh, how fun.
And we've had almost 300 preparedness tasks completed. And it's just been amazing, the coverage and the interest that people have actually in doing one little thing every day towards preparedness.
Could you just give us an example of a couple of things that you had? Because they're really fun.
Sure. Some of them are like checking the batteries. How often do you check the batteries in your smoke alarm? The recommendation, of course, is to do it every month. So we asked our contestants whether or not, when the last time was they changed their batteries and how often they check them. Today's task was actually to drop, cover, and hold to submit a picture either online or via email to us of them ducking under their desks or getting some of their people that they work with under their desks as well. So today already we've had about 15 people submit pictures of being under their desks and drop, covering, hold with the state of Washington's earthquake exercise today. So every single day we're asking them a question, and they can answer the question on the blog or through Facebook on our fan page, or they can tweet their answer on Twitter or simply email me the response. And so it's really interesting every day to see the interest and the fun that people are having with the exercise.
And one of the nice things about the blog is even when the month is over, people can go back and refer, because these are all, they're fun activities, but they're all serious topics to help you get ready or things to think about. Is it too late for people to get involved if they didn't start on September 1st?
Not at all. Now, of course, we are tracking people for the month of September, right. And in order to win the prize, which actually is to engage with my office very directly, we're going to invite the winners in for a staff meeting and discussion with us, either via teleconference or in person, because we really want to learn about what their experience was like playing the game, to see what we can learn about engaging with the community as well. So to count for the game, you have to do the activities before midnight on September 30th, but of course, anytime you do any of the exercises, you'll be one step closer towards preparedness. So our goal is if people only do one activity, they've done one thing different that they hadn't done on August 31st.
What are some of the basics people need to know? For example, how long should they be prepared to survive on their own? Because people assume that police and fire and everybody else will be right there to help them, but that's not necessarily true.
Not necessarily the case. And the guidance has changed federally over the past couple of years. We used to say 72 hours, be prepared to be on your own for up to 3 days. That guidance has really changed to being 10 days to 2 weeks, as we've seen with some of the national hurricanes and some of the larger events where resources are simply restricted or constricted based on the type of scenario. So we tell folks that not to rely, that government will be on their way to assist them right after a crisis. And in fact, the more they can help themselves, the more they help the community.
What's involved in putting together a kit? Do they have to get special containers, or how can people get started? Where can they get some ideas?
Sure. The biggest thing in preparing your kit is knowing what you need to make it through 72 hours or up to 10 days. And that can be a very different thing for different people. I myself have 2 young kids, so dealing with young children is very different. Also having a pet, I have a small cat that preparing for her safety is also something to take into consideration. So really it's looking at the basics like food, water, shelter conditions if you're without heat for a certain period of time, having the types of things that would keep you warm, fed, and able to really take the next steps towards keeping your family safe.
Some first aid supplies.
Sure, absolutely.
And food's important, but so is water. How much water should people have available per person per day?
The guidance per person per day is 1 gallon per person per day, and that typically also includes sanitation needs, so that's not all just drinking up to 1 gallon. But really it's a good guideline to use for the number of people in your family, for how long you store. And water needs to be circulated. It's really important to think about, if you keep water in large barrels, rotating those out every 3 to 6 months to make sure that your water is fresh and able to be drinkable.
Okay. Yeah, people think of water not going bad, but it does need, it can be a problem. And as you said, you need to remember it's not just what you need, but it's babies, children, pets, thing. One of the things that seems to happen in emergencies or disasters is everyone you ever knew wants to know if you're okay or not, as the case may be, and it isn't always easy to figure that out. So do you have some suggestions for, it's important to have a plan in place before disaster strikes, so you have a system to let people know you're okay or need help? Or
the first thing that always goes down in any emergency is telephone communication. Of course, we always run to the phone. We try to call those friends and family that are nearby. And unfortunately, the phone switches get overloaded and we're unable to often make local phone calls. So there's a couple of things that people can do. One is they can have an out-of-area contact. They can identify someone who does not live in the local area and have their family members and their loved ones call the out-of-area contact, because sometimes out-of-area phone lines will still work even if local phone lines do not. The second thing we encourage people to do is to get familiar with text messaging. The recent research out of Haiti and some of the larger earthquakes is that text messaging and use of social media such as Twitter has been far more effective in being able to reach people, because it uses a lot less space in the communication spectrum. So if you haven't ever sent a text message before, we encourage people to try doing it and trying to reach their family through text messaging or Twitter as an alternate means of communication.
And you actually have, now might be a good time to talk about your preparedness, because it's who you know, right?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. Of course, in order to receive your emergency information, we always encourage folks to connect with CRESA. We are on social media, such as Facebook. The CRESA fan page is at facebook.com/CRESA.911. We also are on Twitter with an agency identity of CRESA. And we also have our blog, which is linked right to our website, which is cresa911.org. And we encourage anyone, even if they don't live here within Clark County, to identify who their emergency management agency is and who they can receive reliable information from when a crisis strikes.
Right, and that's great. Who depends
on... We've developed these for the Preparedness campaign this month. A really excellent thing that's happening in our libraries here in Vancouver on Tuesdays and Thursdays during September is how to make a preparedness kit. And we received some funding in order to put what you need in a preparedness kit on these reusable grocery bags. And they're available at both the Cascade Park Library and the main library from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. I believe they're at the Cascade Park Library on Tuesdays and the main library on Thursday from 3 to 6. So we encourage folks to come on out and get themselves a red bag.
Great. And should you have a plan or a kit if you need to evacuate your home? And I think specifically like some of the wildfires in California, or even in eastern Oregon, Washington, and that could happen really anywhere, or if there were to be a imminent flood or from a dam burst or something. Should you at least have a list of what you'd take as opposed to having everything by the front door all the time, or what kind of things do you need to think about?
Actually, it's an upcoming task in 30 Days, 30 Ways, is to think about what you would take if you only had seconds to evacuate your home. It wouldn't be unusual, or hopefully unusual, to come home and find your home on fire. And what people would take, what's most important to them, or why they might need to evacuate. And so we encourage people to think about that. If there's some stuff you would absolutely take, make sure your kits are mobile. I keep my kits in a couple of backpacks that are located in places that could be strategically grabbed and exited the home very quickly. So some people I know put their cans in large garbage cans so they can roll them, throw them on a truck, and drive away from their home. But it's really important to think about how you could evacuate quickly, because crisis already presents a difficult sort of a paralysis, so to speak, in what you think might be important. So if you think about that ahead of time, it's much more helpful for when the emergency strikes.
Instead of just start grabbing things that, like, if you end up with them, it's like, why do I have this?
You'd be amazed at what people take in the few seconds that they often have.
Should you have someplace other than your home where you would keep important papers or documents or photos in the event of a total and sudden disaster, such as recently happened down in California with the pipeline explosion, because those people literally didn't even have time to go find their lists to leave?
We're lucky in this day and age because we're able to keep a lot of our documents either stored like on a cloud computing type of platform like Google Documents, where you can retrieve them online, or simply a safe deposit box at your bank or somewhere where it's saved in a place that's fire safe and able to be reachable. It's really important to also identify what those important documents are ahead of time and what you would need. I carry them on a little flash drive so that they're always on my key ring, so they're with me wherever I'm at with my purse. And it's just a way to keep those documents important.
And now might probably be a good time to ask some of the national news coverage, and with the ad campaign of Northwest Natural. If you smell rotten eggs, you're supposed to think it's gas, not rotten eggs in your refrigerator. And some of the national news has said call 911, whereas the local advertising by Northwest Natural gives a 1-800 number for them. What's the recommended procedure in this part of the country?
Sure. The recommendation is if you just smell gas alone, that you get out of the area and you call the 1-800 number by Northwest Natural Gas. If, however, there's some other condition that presents a hazard to life and safety, such as you see something on fire, you see something blowing that is causing some threat to life and safety, then absolutely you would call 911. But if it's simply the gas smell, get out of the area. Of course, never stay in an area where you smell gas, and call natural gas so they can immediately take action to respond. But beyond that, if something's dangerous, definitely call 911.
And what could be a potential hazard is if you don't call before you dig, right?
That is true, absolutely. We always encourage people to use 811, which is if you are planning to dig in your home, residence, or business area, to get those pipelines identified if you live close to a pipeline. The biggest cause of a lot of the pipeline disasters are third-party digging. So we strongly encourage folks to use 811 and to have their property marked before they ever do any digging or trenching.
So if you're going to plant that old apple tree, call first to make sure you plant it in the right place. Are there classes people can take to help them be prepared for emergencies and maybe even help them help their neighbors?
Absolutely. In this jurisdiction, we have Citizen Emergency Response Team classes, which are the CERT classes, and they're offered by the City of Vancouver, Vancouver Fire, as well as Fire District 6, as well as East County Fire and Rescue out in the Kamas-Washougal area. And there's some classes that are starting in, I believe, October, and you can check the City of Vancouver's website in order to get more information on the CERT classes. We also post the information on our website as well.
A book referenced on your blog is The Unthinkable by Amanda Ripley, and you have some tips from her book. What's the book about, and why is it a good resource maybe to look at if you're planning?
The Amanda Ripley book is amazing for anyone to read, not just emergency managers. We recently completed a book club with some folks in the community and my staff. We've done 2 book clubs now to sort of talk about the impacts of that book. The focus of her book is that the things that make us most resilient in disasters are sometimes not the things we typically think about. We always say, get a plan, have a kit, be prepared, but there's other skills too that are really important. Some of those skills include being able to relax, meditate, take deep breaths, breaths, be able to be aware of your surroundings, being trained in first aid CPR so that you can help those that are next to you, and really being able to take personal individual responsibility for your role in any disaster. The reality is the first responders, the police and the fire agencies are not really the first responders. It's the people that are at the crisis scenes that become the first responders that help their neighbors and help those in times of crisis. So it really is important to realize we all have that personal individual responsibility.
And another service that is available for Clark County residents is the emergency alert by phone. How does that work and what is it?
Sure. We have what's called an emergency community notification system, which automatically brings in all the landline phone numbers. So if we were to need to notify the citizens, we would draw an area on a map and identify what the message is that would go out. Typically, in Clark County, we've used it in law enforcement situations, like where there might be gunfire, a SWAT situation, or where there's a fire in an apartment complex that might threaten other types of areas around there. And we can send a very geographically centered message to say either stay in your home, so you stay out of harm's way, or evacuate your home. Those are the two basic messages. We've also used it in some search and rescue situations where we know that someone has wandered off or has gone missing in a particular small area and sent a message out to say be on the lookout for this missing person. What's important about that system is that the landline phone numbers are automatically loaded into the system. There are two types of phone numbers that are not automatically loaded in the system. One's our cell phone numbers, our mobile numbers, and the other's the voice over internet providers. So like Comcast, Vonage, the types of systems where it's more internet based as opposed to a landline phone number. So you have to sign up and register your phone numbers in order to be able to get those emergency messages. So people can simply go to cressa911.org, look for the little alerts by phone link, and they click on that and they register their phone number to the address they want to receive alerts to. The other cool thing about that is you can register your phone number to a different area, so your work or relative or family member that you might care for, in order to get the alerts and the messages for that area as well. What's important to know is that when we send out an emergency alert, we will tell you the geographic area for which that alert, why people are receiving the alert. And we'll also post information on the blog as well as send it out to the news media so that folks will know why the emergency alert happened. So we've sent out probably about 12 of them in the past 2 years. And like I said, they're often for very small areas, and they say stay home, get out, or be on the lookout.
And it's important for people who have privacy concerns. You're just registering your number. You don't have any way to track people or...
I don't know who signs up for it. The only thing I know is that in our jurisdiction we've had 1,700 people sign up cell phones and over voice over internet. What happens is they register on the 21st Century website, which is who maintains our notification system, and then those numbers are dumped into the database that's part of that geographic area to which they register. So from my perspective, I have no knowledge of who or even which areas have registered a lot of numbers.
How can people stay up to date and receive timely information from Cressa, and how do they sign up for the blog?
Absolutely. We've tried to make it easy with the blog. People can just check the blog by going to our website and clicking on the little blog button themselves. Or there's also on our blog, you can sign up, put your email address, and every day around 6 p.m., I believe, the blog sends out, if we've posted anything that day, to your email address. And you can simply subscribe or unsubscribe by clicking the links in the bottom of those emails. And we try to provide both preparedness information, but also response information. So when we get into times of crisis or hazardous situations, we're posting information that's relevant and timely for our local community here.
I know during the summer you've appointed a couple of heat advisories, and during the winter, same with particularly windstorms or snowstorms or whatever. So what's the best way to get information from Cressa and other emergency resources? Again, the website?
The website is cressa911.org, and on the front page of the website you'll also find links to our Facebook page as well as our Twitter page. But the Facebook fan page is, if you simply look up Cressa or Clark Regional Emergency Services on Facebook, you can like us, and you'll also receive the information there, or twitter.com/Cressa, CRESA, and we are able to use those not only from our location, but also mobilely as well. So we're able to try to send out information, presuming that all the technology infrastructure works. But if not, if the technology infrastructure did fail, local news media as well as radio stations would also carry press releases and information from us. So our social media avenues are just one additional tool in the box to all of the traditional communications we've used in the past.
Well, thank you very much for taking time to join us today, and may your disasters be few and far between, because that means ours will be too.
True. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you. And so to our viewers, we would encourage you to sign up for the CRESA blog, and don't put off putting together your survival kit any longer, because you just don't know how soon you and your family might need it. In fact, your life depends on it. Now, for all of us here at City Minutes, this is Donna Mason saying thank you for watching and good day.